Good morning. Wow, this is the very first YouTube live offering of our Joyful Joints program. Joyful Joints is a trademark program which began back in 2018 and grew out of a beautiful group from Anderson College area here in Anderson. Well, I'm in Carmel, Indiana, but in Anderson, Indiana. It's the first time we called our class Joyful Joints. And why? Because we were busy just taking some beautiful people and learning how powerful it is to simply move a joint, to understand about movement of a joint, to even think about moving a joint that was maybe stuck along the way, and finding out the power of reconnecting those joints to our brain and getting the communication of our nervous system back again. That's what Joyful Joints is all about. And what we found was through this group of people, led by the most amazing Ann Smith, who is turning 100 years old this next January and is coming out with a book entitled What If? That book comes out in the next couple weeks, and we'll share the link with you as we find it. But Anne and her Sunday school class were finding such joy in just rediscovering or discovering for the first time how parts of the body moved. And when we gave those parts attention, when those parts of our body felt like they were being taken care of, that they were noticed, then a level of relaxation, a level of comfort that hadn't been felt maybe in forever was available. And it just brought joy to our faces. So that's where Joyful Joints began. Here we are now, 6 years later, and I'm in my space. This is called Pranavar. This is a space where we want everyone just to have that joy of curiosity, of exploration, of adventure. And through that exploration, we find ourselves being more comfortable. We find ourselves being more motivated. We find ourselves able to enjoy life at whatever space we're at. And not only can we enjoy it from that point, when difficult things come along, we're then much more able and equipped to handle, to work through the challenging situations that are part of life, that are what life is. And we do it with a smile on our face. So I welcome everyone to our first live class. Welcome everybody who's been part of this program for many years. And let's go ahead and do our work, shall we? Yeah, let's go ahead. What the class is, we need a chair. That's about it. Along the way, there may be different classes that will invite you to bring in different pieces of equipment. For example, something we use a lot is something called a focal pointer. Now, this is one that I think is just fun. It's got a little hand on the top with a finger pointing. You can actually use your own hand, use your own thumbnail. You could have a pen or a pencil, but when you come to class, be ready with something like a focal pointer. Good. Now, for those of you who have been around for a while, our classes are going to be a little bit sped up, a little bit shorter than we've done for the past 4 years. Why? Because we can. We know that even if we do just 10 minutes of our Joyful Joints work, that we already feel better. We're going to aim this class to be around the 30-minute mark, but we'll see. The classes will also then remain available for you, the recording. So if you're not able to attend during this exact time, Tuesdays at 11:30 Eastern time, then you can always find these classes available on our YouTube channel. So, shall we get started? Let's go ahead. Everybody just have a seat. Have a seat. Beautiful. I'm going to hold my focal pointer to begin with, and we're going to find out something in our body that feels good. So one of the main principles working with Joyful Joints is to be able to clearly define how we feel right now, and when we check again, to know what's different, to objectively notice any changes that may have occurred. It doesn't matter if the changes are positive or negative, or if there was no change, it's observation. And we're going to challenge ourselves to make very few conclusions as we go through this class. Simply observe. If something you notice is like, wow, I feel a lot better, and that lasted me for 24 hours, then take whatever it was you did, whatever simple drill we do during the class, and make it part of your daily practice. That's as simple as that, right? So here we go. Begin by holding your focal pointer out. Now I've got my stick, I'll turn myself to the side. This could again be your thumbnail or a pen or a pencil. With both eyes, look at that focal pointer. Whoops, did we check and see what's not comfortable today, or do you already know? So I already know that I have a little bit of discomfort in this region today. So I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to, on a scale from 0 to 10, I'm going to evaluate the discomfort level. And for today, it's about a 3. So not terrible, but noticeable. And I'd love to try to get to 0. A little bit of a perfectionist. How about you? All right, so now let's do our first exercise. Holding our focal pointer out in front of us, let's draw it in. Good. This focal pointer will come in and actually touch your nose. So both eyes are trying to look at this point. What does that mean? Our eyes are going cross-eyed, and slowly take that away. Now, again, we're going to try to be very objective in how we're speaking to ourselves, how we're noticing what's happening. By the way, if you are here and live and you want to post a little message, I think I might have to change the settings on that, but I say hello to you. Go ahead and draw this in. As we touch the nose, perhaps you're noticing, ooh, that's really hard for my eyes. I feel a little strain. Slowly take it away. If you feel sharp shooting pain at any time, you're working too hard. Back off a little bit. We like to do our exercises at the intensity level of 3 or below on a scale of 10. Okay, that's what Joyful Joynts is about. Please remember that. Your other physical training is separate. We are here to support your body to do all the other things you want to do throughout the week, and slowly take this away. This exercise is called a convergence drill. I also like to call it pencil push-ups, because sometimes we have a pencil and it's like you're doing push-ups. So we just did 3 of those. And at this point, we go back and we reassess. So how is my pain thing or my discomfort thing? Guess what? I told you I was at a 3 before. I'm at 1.5. Okay? So what does that mean? It means that I take this exercise, I write it down on a piece of paper, I do something to be able to remember that when I do this exercise, my body feels better. Okay? And we are dealing with something called neuroplasticity. So if this one thing that I'm checking on is better, I know that that is spreading throughout my entire nervous system, even if it's something I don't have a real ability to check on, okay? Because that's just how neuroplasticity works. You'll have to trust me on that one for a while. You can go look it up later. All right, we're going to cover one eye now. So I really liked doing that pencil push-up drill today. Let's take on our left hand, cover our left eye, and hold your focal pointer out in front of you. And so now my eye is open underneath the hand, but I'm really looking at my focal pointer with the open eye. And we're going to move the focal pointer across our nose. So I'm moving across toward the closed eye. I have to stop at a certain point because otherwise this will disappear. The focal pointer will disappear behind my nose. And then let's bring that back to the center, please. Very good. And now let's take that focal pointer away from the closed eye. So out to the side, away from the closed eye. Now, as we move this direction, this is lateral movement, I could take that focal pointer way out into my peripheral vision. But let's not do that. Let's keep that focal pointer where my eye is looking at it directly. And some of you might notice, ooh, that's kind of hard. It's challenging. Again, level 3 out of 10 for your intensity today, please. And then we'll bring this back to the front. All right, next, let's move the focal pointer upward. Up toward your eyebrow. So I definitely feel like out of the 3 so far, I have more muscle working in the upward direction. It's a little more challenging to hold my eye at the focal pointer. Let's bring it back down to the center, please. And from here, we take this down, down, down. Down, down, down. Hold it there. So I'm limited, maybe you are too, by my cheekbone. If I went a little further, this focal pointer would disappear behind the cheekbone. And then we're going to come back up to the center. And then we're going to release and blink our eyes. Very, very good. Okay. So just shimmy around a little bit, give yourself a little jiggle. And this is where we do one of those reassess. So we could go back to that physical thing that we checked on before. Magically, I'm like at a 0.5 now. You could also go back to a previous exercise that was a struggle for you or that you noticed was difficult or straining. So for example, let's go back and do our pencil push-up. Now that we've worked on one of our eyes, does that pencil push-up seem anyhow different? Compare and contrast. Try to not draw a conclusion or to understand why. Because really all that does is it takes us out of allowing the body to experience, okay? That's one thing about our culture. We are so interested in knowing the whys and understanding everything that it takes us out of this space of simply experiencing. And it is in that experience that we really find joy. So part of our Joyful Joynts class is really just letting go of any expectations, letting go of any need to get results, and just simply observing what results happen. From that, we can extrapolate and pull out things that are good for us. That's great, but we don't necessarily have to understand all of the why. Are you guys with me in that one? It's a big letting go. You know when people say, let go, just let go of that. And we're like, how? Well, Joyful Joynts will help you along that process. This is part of the technology of how to let go. So shall we do the other eye? How many of us had a positive result when we covered our left eye and worked with our right? Let's try the other one. So now we're covering the other eye. We're holding up our focal pointer. And we go from here. We make that focal pointer move toward the closed eye. Now there's no reason why we go in this order. So don't think you have to remember that in order to practice on your own. In fact, you don't have to remember anything because you just come back to our channel and click play and come back to the center. Beautiful. From here, we move it out to the side. So now we're moving away from our covered eye. And remember what can happen in this direction? We can go far out into our peripheral vision. So I see this, but I'm not looking at it directly. I want to bring that back. Bring my focal pointer back to the point where my eye is looking at it directly. Because we are really challenging the muscularity of the eye right now, not our visual acuity or any of that part. And then we'll come back to the center. Pretty sure I forgot to remind you, if you wear glasses, it'd be good to have them off doing these eye exercises. The frame of our glasses creates a boundary, actually, that our eyes don't like to look past, right? Because you can't see outside the frame of your glasses. And what that does is it causes our eyes to think, that's all they're supposed to do. When in reality, their potential is to move in a greater range of motion. So get the glasses off, stretch your eyes. Even if you don't see well, it's not important. It is move their eyes, use all the muscles so that they don't atrophy and become lost to our brain. Okay. We got two more directions with our, I'm on my right eye covered, and we'll take that focal pointer up, up, up. All the way up. Good. And I'm just remembering that, like the other side, this upward motion seems to make the most strain. It's the most challenging physically for me to reach my eye up. So I'm going to go, that's interesting. And I'm not going to strain. I'm not going to panic. I'm just noticing, observing that that's how it is. And we come back to the center. From here, let's move that eye downward. Downward. Good. And just like on the other side, I recall that my cheekbone is a limiter. If I keep moving this focal pointer downward, it would disappear behind the cheekbone. And then we'll bring that eye back up to the center. We'll release, we'll blink, blink, blink. We'll do that little shimmy. And then what happens after every exercise? Now, as we go through practice, I'm not always going to prompt you to do a reassessment. That happens here at the beginning. So if you want to introduce your friends and family to Joyful Joynts, please come back to this initial class because it's where we really are going to talk more about stop and reassess. So here we go, reassessing. Holy cow, I'm at a 0. Did you see how quickly we came up with the comparison contrast? If you do 100 of these before you decide if it's better, you might have already injured it trying to figure it out. So come up with your reassessment, come up with your comparison contrast more quickly before your conclusion brain starts to process, right? Before you're like, I'm looking for it, I'm looking for that pain, where is it? You'll always find it again. If you simply go into that observation mode, like, wow, my shoulder feels looser than it has in, I don't know, a couple of weeks, yeah? And all we did was our eye exercises. So what does that tell me? It's my everyday. It's just like brushing my teeth. It's something we don't do without unless I want to walk around with bad breath and repel everyone around me. It's the same thing. When I have pain in my body, it's like having a form of bad breath, and without you even knowing it, it can be repulsive to other people. They might try to smile through it, but our sensitivity as people, even if you're not aware of it, someone in pain is something that we don't necessarily want to be around unless we're addicted to feeling that pain. Okay, that's a whole nother story. That'll be a prana workshop some other day. All right, everybody, let's go ahead. We'll turn our chairs back to the front. Let's be done with our focal pointers for now. When we practice our exercises, I like to sit up on the front edge of the chair. So I guess I'll turn again so you can see. So there's space between my body and the back of the chair. Some of us, this may not be a space where we can do comfortably yet, okay? If you cannot do this yet, why don't you put it on your goal list and see what happens by Christmas time. Are you feeling more like sitting up without the support of the back of your chair? Great, that'd be a great goal. Nothing that we're going to be tied to, however, correct? We're going to notice all the little steps along the way. If this isn't comfortable and you have a nice straight backed chair where you can sit with your hips at a 90-degree angle, not in a slouchy, right? This is slouchy. This is not going to do what we want it to do for the day. But sit your tushy way back. Let the spine, let the back feel the back of the chair. And just imagine that this is being done under your own power. Once we get the brain and the body attached properly, sitting up will not be an issue. It'll take so much less effort. Anybody up for that? Yeah, because then that's going to translate to, wow, if my spine can hold itself in a sitting position, then as we move forward to standing positions, we have half the work done. So I'm sitting back, I've got my spine supported, or you've been with me for long enough that sitting up off the back of the chair is available to you. I'll stay demonstrating against the back of the chair. Oh, by the way, just because your body can sit up tall doesn't mean you can't have days when you just practice relaxing back here. You might learn something. So let's go and touch our throat. We're going to work on our neck and our head. So today's class is going to be very much focused just here in the head and the neck region. All right. And as we begin building up these live classes on YouTube, we will address all different parts of the body one by one. And later on, we will start to integrate them all. Right. Now, for those of you who've been through the process, everything old is new again. So start with me over. Every time I start over in a new format or with new people, I'm so surprised at what the simple things can do for me. For example, I haven't been doing my eye drills. I might have thought I didn't need to, but in doing those eye drills, I feel better. All right, so shall we work with the neck? We're touching our throat. That's where the Adam's apple is, not down where the hole at the top of your, right? So that divot is not the throat. Come up higher and find your Adam's apple, where that hyoid bone lives. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise called chicken neck. So my body stays against the chair or my spine stays straight and my throat travels forward. Then my throat travels backward. Okay? Now, if you're watching this, you'll say, oh, she's just sending her head forward and backward. Partially. My head is attached to my throat. So my throat is moving. And because my head is attached, then my head is also moving. Right? If I just said head, let's all do something that's not exactly what we want. Be aware of just your chin and throw your chin forward and backward. It's a whole different ballgame than if I focus in on my throat. Now try this one and bring it forward and back. Some of you might be going, oh, but I can't move as far, or it's a really small movement, or that's really confusing. If you're like, wow, that's really confusing, I applaud you. I'm excited because you know what that means? It means that movement has been lost. The communication between your brain and that part of your body has been lost. And by you recognizing, this is confusing, keep going by the way, you are already starting to reconnect. It's 90% thinking about and visualizing the movement. The last 10% is actually getting things moving. So please, as you're working at home, don't get discouraged if your movement doesn't look or feel like what you think it should. Keep thinking about it. Keep listening to the terms. That's why I keep talking the whole time. Now, once we brought our throat back, okay, throat is back, we're going to begin to turn our head from side to side. So what I'd like you to think about is the back of the head. You can even tap it to figure out where it is. Where's the base of your skull? Let me turn on further sideways here. The base of your skull, that bump, and then it sits on top of your spine. This is the neck, which is the upper part of the spine. It goes up really high, like behind where your eyeballs are, okay? So when we pull our throat back, and then think about a flashlight here at the very base of our skull and turn that flashlight from side to side. Sometimes I like to close my eyes so that this exercise doesn't really have anything to do with me looking around with my front eyeballs. This has to do with the back of my head. Okay, moms who all have eyeballs in the back of your head, yeah? This is what we're doing. Open up your back eyeballs and rotate them, turn them from side to side. Are you holding your throat back or does it want to float out? Beautiful. Couple more times. This in itself could be an assessment for you throughout the day. But if you got a positive result doing your eyes, then as we practice our neck work, we're in a state of more comfort, so we will gain some positive movement. Okay, let's bring our head straight forward. We have one more head movement for today. So we're going to imagine a flashlight on the top of our head, like a crown shining upward. And I'm going to pull my throat, and I'm going to tip my crown to point to the wall in front of me. Now, relax your shoulders. Again, keep pulling that throat back toward the back of your neck. Bring your head back to neutral. Let me show you something I don't want you to do. We're not tipping our head forward and letting our head fall down toward our lap. We're pulling our throat up. So do you see my head is still on top of my shoulders? It didn't fall down. This is an area, a movement, a position, posture that is absolutely epidemic in the world right now. So we are working to establish stronger and more correct movement in our neck, okay? Now, tipping backwards as we take our crown and we lift that light and try to shine it, maybe not all the way to the back wall, but up to the back corner of your ceiling. Try not to let your throat splat out, because see what that does? It compresses and crunches my neck. My upper spine is now crunched. So I'm going to pull my throat back and really just try to be moving my skull on top of that spine. and we come back to neutral. And then we tip it forward. So some of you might have had some chiropractic work where you did some traction. There are some practices where the neck actually gets grown up or pulled up with actual contractions. What if your own body could do that? Can you imagine it? As I do that, I feel my whole body, my legs, my hips, all helping, coming into the center, helping me to grow taller as we then do our head tip forward, neutral, head tip backward. How's that throat? So you could sit here in your chair like a lump and move your head and you'll get a little bit of work done. But if you're overachievers like a lot of us I know, you can try to grow taller through your whole body, right up to the crown of that head. Stay against the back of your chair and then practice your head tilts. There we go. How about we do 2 more? Tilting that head forward. Lifting and tilting that head backward. Last one, tilting that head forward. Lifting and tilting that head backward. So we just did 3 exercises with the head and the neck without reassessing in between. We could have stopped to see how did that affect it, okay? Especially, I went down to the 0. I am now, after doing those exercises, I'm back up to like a 1, okay? So a little awareness of the tension that went on there. What I'd like for us to do then, if you happen to have made progress, and then as we continue with class, it comes back down a little bit, I want you to always go back to the exercise that gave you the most bang for the buck. So this is a sneaky way of us helping you work on your memory, your short-term memory. So I recall what got me most to the 0. It was my single eye work with my left eye open. So I want you to think about, okay, we did eye drills, a couple of eye drills, we did some head movements. Which one gave you the most bang for your buck? Now, if you finished on a high, you don't need to go back and do anything. You could actually just stand up, walk around, and have a little celebratory lap around, right, the victory lap. I'm going to go back, and I encourage you to figure out, let's go ahead back to the exercise that gave you the most bang for the buck today. Now, this may be something which is consistent for you. Like every time you do it, it gives you the most bang for the buck. That's cool. But be ready for life to shift and for your biggest bang exercise to also shift with it. That's why we show up. That's why we're going to show up every Tuesday live. So we have accountability, so that we're keeping up with life shifting and we joyfully move through it. Now I'm talking to you as I'm doing my exercise. I've had a lot of practice and observation. Some of you, as you're doing exercises, may need to stop listening to me so you can observe your own body. Okay, so once you finish, recheck, yep, that feels better. I love it. I teach this class and it never ceases to amaze and surprise and bring a smile to my face. And like I say, we're going to really keep these classes short so you can anytime just click in and do the whole thing. Maybe you'll bookmark and save on the page the ones that just really made you feel good. And YouTube channel is always available, right? So we're trying to remove any objections you have to being able to help yourself feel better. There's a lot of objections to, I can't make it at this day and that time. I can't figure out the technology. This is the easiest we can make the technology, and we hope to enhance the look and the feel of the class for you. But I hope you all had a great time. I will see if I can turn on comments for some of us for next week, especially those of you who've been with us for a long time to help support in this community. You guys are incredible. And we'll see you again next week. Spread the joy. Thanks, guys.